Today we're going to talk about the power of volatility meeting neutrality. But before we get started, I want you to go down and hit the subscribe button, please. And hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to select the like button when you finish watching this video. When you speak about volatility and neutrality, let's share a little bit of chemistry. Did you know that sodium is soft? You could cut it with a knife. But when you take sodium and you introduce it with water, it explodes. It gives off a violent explosion. If you were to take chlorine gas and you introduce chlorine gas into a room, it is highly toxic. It is highly toxic. So when something is volatile, that means it's unstable. It reacts quickly. But when you take sodium and chlorine and bring them together and it is neutralized through that reaction, it creates table salt. Or what do you use for cooking? Salt. Sodium chloride. Did you also know if you take oxygen, which is highly combustible, and you take hydrogen, which is highly explosive, two volatile substances, and you bring them together, you make water. The very same thing you cannot live without. You have to be able to drink. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The power of volatility meeting neutrality. Our lives are filled with volatile situations and volatile things that we could learn from. The very first thing that we deal with that is very volatile is procrastination. We procrastinate, and because of our procrastination, it adds extra stress to our lives. It adds extra stress to our families. It adds extra stress to our work. It adds extra stress to our social environments. But we could get rid of that volatility by doing one thing: acting. Put ourselves into action. Instead of procrastinating and putting off for tomorrow what can be done today, you do it today. And instead of sitting down and pondering, hey, that's too much to do, just do it. Put yourself in action. Follow the Nike ad and just do it. You create action steps. You go out there and you do things every single day. You see, your successes in life will be the sum total of what you learn to do every day. If you practice the positive daily habits every single day, you will get to your goal. If you slay that giant of procrastination by putting yourself into action, getting a planner, planning your day. You know, I like planning my week. I sit down on Sunday afternoons and I plan my week. So when I plan my week, I know what I need to get done and I get it done. I know in order to not procrastinate, I have to learn to get things done. And I get things done. I have to-do lists and I sit down and I do them. I create systems, and by creating systems, it helps you to get things done faster and get things done more efficient. When you procrastinate, it brings an extra sense of burden and it saps up a lot of energy that if you learn to put yourself in action, you will find it reduces your stress and you'll find that you will produce at a very highly productive level. So the first thing you want to neutralize, the first volatility you want to neutralize in your life is the volatility called procrastination. Another volatility you want to neutralize in your life is jealousy. Society will tell us if you see a guy painting a fence and he's painting a fence and the fence is painted better than yours, it looks better than yours, you go over and you berate him. I can't believe he has a better fence than me. Oh, he could paint it better than me. He's just a show-off, an overachiever. That's what society will tell you. But you always want to slay the volatility of jealousy. You want to go over there and you say, sir, madam, you are painting such a wonderful fence. How do you do it? How do you go about your brushstroke? Could you give me some pointers? Could you teach me what you're doing so then I myself could go and paint my fence? Learn not to be jealous of somebody else. Learn not to be jealous because they have more money than you, or more success than you, or they're smarter than you, or they dress better than you. Never be jealous of anybody. Learn to constantly take the volatility of jealousy and put it under your feet and be humble and learn to ask people questions. Learn to learn. And when you ask and you're given advice, put it into action. Nothing works unless acted upon. Knowledge without action is pointless and it's useless as well. So you want to go out there and you want to slay the volatility of jealousy. Never be jealous of someone. You can never have money if you're jealous of somebody with money. You can never have success if you're jealous of somebody with success. You can never have influence if you're jealous of somebody with influence. You can never have proper leadership abilities if you're jealous of somebody with leadership abilities. You have to learn to celebrate others. You have to learn from others. You have to learn to glean from others. The good book says the iron sharpens iron. We have to learn to sharpen one another. And as you sharpen one another, you get sharper. It's not the other way around. So that spirit, the volatility of jealousy needs to go. It needs to go, and you need to replace that with love. You will need to replace that with grace. You need to replace that with understanding. You need to replace that with ability and a desire to learn, and an ability and a desire to grow. The other volatility I'm going to talk about is dishonor. Dishonor. You have to learn not to be belittling people. It doesn't matter what their socio-economic background. It doesn't matter what side of the tracks they're from. You never make anybody feel small so that you could feel great. You never make anybody feel small so that you can be elevated. Always give people a hand up. Always help them to succeed. Always help them to grow. Always honor. We got to learn to honor one another instead of engaging in small talk. I don't like small talk. Anybody around me will tell you I don't like small talk. Reason why I don't like small talk, it usually leads to gossip. And when it leads to gossip, it doesn't honor others. It doesn't honor others. They're not there to defend themselves. You see, you have to learn to honor one another. You have to learn to respect one another. You have to learn to move with grace. You have to learn to move in love. You have to learn to move in a spirit of honor. When you have a spirit of honor, there is a spirit of unity. There is a spirit of understanding. There's a spirit of celebration. There's a spirit of love. There is a spirit of harmony. So when you have all of that come together, you're able to slay the spirit or the volatility of dishonor. The other thing I want to talk about is hatred, your volatility of hatred. If you learn to love everybody, irregardless of the color of their skin or where they live or what job they have, if you learn to love others, you will literally extinguish or destroy the volatility of hatred. But first of all, how do you do that most effectively? You have to learn to love the person you see in the mirror. You see, hurting people hurt people. And if you have hurts and you have emotional hurts, your emotional hurts cannot be dealt with alcohol. It cannot be dealt with vaping. It cannot be dealt with smoking cigarettes. It cannot be dealt with all the other vices that people use to mask their hurts. When you're hurt emotionally, when you're hurt mentally, when you're hurt socially, when you're hurt economically, the only thing can deal with that is that first of all, you have to admit where you are and you need help. And then you have to decide, I need to develop or get help. Find help and get some action steps that I could implement. And when you implement those action steps, you start moving in wholeness. And when you start moving in wholeness, you slay that giant, the volatility of hatred. You start loving others. You start genuinely caring for others. You start not just going out there and taking a match and burning down the entire forest because you didn't get your way or you didn't get what you want. I look at people who do that as being the most, it's not healthy. It's not nice. To me, it's the most selfish thing. Because no matter what anybody does you, even if they've done you wrong, you should be able to forgive them and move on. Forgiveness is not saying that you have to be best friends with them. Forgiveness is not saying that you need to sit with them and invite them to the table and eat dinner with them. Forgiveness is not saying that you need to give them your keys to your house and say, hey, you could go hang out at my house. Trust is easily lost but hard to gain. And once trust is lost, it has to be rebuilt. That trust has to be rebuilt. So when you forgive, you forgive so that you let them go. You forgive so that you release yourself out of someone else's emotional prison, and you're able to slay that volatility of hatred, and you're able to move in love. You're able to move in grace. We're at the holiday season where we're about to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas is coming up. And you have to remember, or you have to always learn the power of volatility meeting neutrality. You have to take those volatile situations and those volatile circumstances in your life, and you have to introduce them to love. You have to introduce them to grace. You have to introduce them to forgiveness. You have to introduce them to harmony. You have to reintroduce them to charity. That's where true charity comes in. That's where true grace comes in. So I want you guys to go out there and learn the power of volatility meeting neutrality. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button below. Hit the subscribe button below. And don't forget to select the like button when you finish watching this video. God bless you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving when it comes up.